holding space.
Preparing live stream, it says. It's just loading. Loading, loading.
Good job, and thank you for making this happen tonight.
Oh, good.
I realized I had to send
Oh,
myself this
stop, stop, stop.
link.
It's loading. Stop. Hello. Oh my gosh, that came through. Hi, welcome to Witchy Talk. You're back here with
Good job,
Nicola
and
and
thank you for
Sophie.
making this happen tonight.
Oh no, it's all coming through. First time live streaming on Witchy Talk. Few technical issues, of course. Here we go. Let me just get this screen looking good. Hold on a second, people. Oh, why?
We're reminded to have fun with it.
There we go. And welcome to Witchy Talk. I'm Nicola Robinson, coming in from New Zealand with Sophia, coming from the AZ to the NZ. Welcome.
That's right, guys. Connecting through time and space over the World Wide Web, also known as the internet, where we can go in and go out without bounds and connect with you.
Yes, we're here for episode 3. So good to connect with you again, Sophia.
Heck yeah, back on track,
Yeah.
right?
Back on a new
Shaking it
track,
off.
hey? We've been talking about that. Feeling into the new track.
Yeah, feeling into the new track, man. I took a really nice drive the other night, and I'm gonna tell you what, it felt great to be behind the wheel.
Hmm.
Just knowing that I was driving in my lane to this place, a beautiful place, up north here in Sedona, a couple hours from my house. And I'm gonna tell you, it felt good. And taking the scenic route along the way, once I got to the spot, I was like, yes, this is the place. And so it feels good to be in control in some sense of my destiny, right? And where I want to go and where I'm taking myself.
Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah, I love that. I've just finished working in a regular job and, switching out to creating my own schedule with my own work. And I do a bit of house sitting as well. And that first part, those first 3 weeks of after finishing my regular job, I was house sitting, and so I was also like taking some pretty big drives. And it just helps clear the mind, doesn't it? I love that space on the open road.
Absolutely.
And it's just like download central sometimes when you're driving.
Absolutely. Yes.
Just
It's
have
so
the
great.
space to think and allow, yeah, it's like a processing time, isn't it? Like, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely that. I mean, the scenery does help. I'm in a desert, so it's
Mm.
really interesting. We have multiple deserts here, but the state is actually made up, I think, of 30, almost 40%. I'll have to double check the facts of forest.
Wow.
So a good portion of the state, even though we're in a desert, is forest. And
Yeah.
I took this drive and I think I went through 3 different forest areas.
Oh, wow.
And so it was really interesting to see like the layers, right? Like the change in topography from desert landscape to where it's dry, arid
Mm.
cactus, saguaros to, what I call scrub brush, a lot of the juniper trees and, going to cypress and sycamores and pines. And so it was really, really interesting to experience that in a drive and just seeing how things change with the elevation, right? It's like
Mm.
as I was elevating, right,
Yeah.
and moving further up north, I went from like the dry deserts to a little bit more green to a little bit more green to where everything was lush and full of life.
Yeah,
And
wow.
so,
Nice.
yeah, it's interesting, and I just having the opportunity to connect with nature too is a big thing for me. Is where I can find that time to unwind and really really connect
Mm.
with the plants, with the trees.
Yeah.
Um, that's always lovely.
Bringing in the elemental wisdom, right? And connecting with nature and definitely, yeah. Do you have,
Absolutely.
with the desert roads, like, do you have like a lot of really straight roads? Like all those roads are like dead straight, or do you, like, or is it still got a little bit of curvature in them?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Nicola. I would love to say that, life is a straight road, but shit,
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
driving down a straight road and then it's just a curve. Actually, there's a lot of switchbacks. And
oh,
what I mean by that is like just switching back curve to curve, like so the main freeways here,
yeah.
which is the I-10, will take you from basically California, the westernmost state,
Mm.
all the way to Florida. So it'll
Oh,
take you all across the United States. You can
yeah,
drive.
yeah.
And then we have a couple of freeways that run north and south. And so most of those are paved in a straightaway, but
Mm.
as you start cutting through these forest lands, some of the areas I like to visit, Sedona, Page, the Grand Canyon,
Mm.
it does get curvy, and you're also cutting
Yeah.
through Indian reservations.
Mm, mm.
And so you're going through a lot of different spaces, but as you get up into the canyons, those areas are switchback because they're literally carved around mountains. You're
Mm.
either
Yeah.
you're either driving through the mountains, you
Yeah.
know, um, literally like they'll have tunnels where you're driving through the mountain
Yeah.
or right alongside the mountain, like, hundreds of feet, a drop.
Yeah. Totally.
So
Yeah.
you got to keep your hands on the wheel and
Yeah.
know where you're
Yeah. We've
going.
got
And
lots of
so
that here. Yeah. Yeah.
staying on track, right? Staying on track. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, even if it does have the those switchbacks. Yeah, we call them, it's like an S bend. We call them lots of S bends. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
ours can be more of like an S, a Z, and an O
oh
shit.
yeah, oh wow. Yeah. It's so full on.
Certainly makes it interesting, but I
Yeah.
just try to tune in, right? Tune into some good music and
Yeah.
enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And you're in like the height of summer over there as well. So yeah, going into the north where it's a bit cooler and you actually see some greenery would have been really refreshing for you.
Yeah, it certainly is. And
Mm.
I long for that in the summertime. It's a little bit of relief. So if I have a weekend off or a day off, I just hop in the car and go. Sedona is about 2 hours away from me,
Mm.
where there's water,
Yeah. I
and
know
I
because
love
I was
that.
sending you all these pictures of water and you're like, I need to get to water. Nicola's sending me so many pictures.
Oh, for
I need to
sure. I was
go.
like, just that energy, right? And connecting with the elements is a big part of
Mm,
my spiritual practice. It's a big part of my spirituality, and it has been since I was a kid. It's really been relief. It's been healing, and to just really connect with myself, right? Connect to that nature,
yeah.
and so I was really, I don't want to say needing, but I was really needing some water energy, and so
Yeah.
I was like, I'm bound to find it, and so there I was. But yeah, the beaches there look absolutely beautiful there in New
Yeah.
Zealand, and I'm like, oh my goodness,
It's so
wow.
so dynamic and so rugged. And yeah, the place that I was house sitting in, like I've only been there once before briefly. And but yeah, the beach was so just wide and expansive and beautiful to walk down, but it's pretty much also a road for the locals. Like a lot of the locals will yeah, drive and drive down and park where they want to fish from, or they will drive all the way down to the other end of the beach where you can get to the next seaside beach town down and access and literally access that town down there too. So it's kind of like a beach and a road. um
Okay. So you
yes,
get some of that local vibe, right? Then it's
mm,
kind of like, everybody enjoys that communal space, right? It's just a part
Yeah.
of the lifestyle, and it's a part of
Yeah.
living there.
Definitely. Yeah. So many people spending time on the beach and being such a rugged, like wild coastline, there's so much driftwood on that beach. And
Oh,
there
wow.
were so many, beautiful driftwood constructions that people had built, like little huts and little, like teepee style shape, with the driftwood all leaning up against each other. And they're just, and they've made little pathway outside, and I've gone home. So
Oh my
I'm
gosh. So
like,
in other
oh,
words, they've built a home. They've
yeah,
built,
they've just
I
built
mean,
a
just
they've just, built a little wee construction, for their afternoon. And they sit there for, I'm sure they sit there for months until the weather gets, so bad that maybe it takes some of them down. But, I sat inside a few of them and like lay back and looked up at all the driftwood, like holding each other up, and you can still see the clouds in the sky through it and everything. So it's just a really beautiful place. And there was a forest right next to it as well. So you could literally walk off the beach across the sand dunes and then into like a deep forest area, which is quite dark and kind of magical and like mossy, you know, mystical feeling to it. So I spent quite a lot of time in the forest walking around there as well. In my downtime. And like I definitely felt like I needed that with finishing work and having these few weeks of a transition period before really like being like, what does my self-employed um structure look like? Like this house sitting just came up, at the perfect time to give me these 3 weeks of transition to like feel into what I do really want to do. How do I really want to create this going forward? What's the priority for me going forward, rather than just like rushing in to think, oh no, I've got to get something set up. I've got to do the next thing, and I do paid house sitting, and that's all goes through my tax account as well. So it's all part of my income. But it allowed me the space to have um those 3 weeks where I
hmm.
had money to live off, and I could ground myself in my new reality. And walking in the forest and sitting in nature. There was one area where it looked like maybe 2 or 3 trees had maybe fallen and the trunks had rotted away, and there was this massive hole in the earth. And it had, all the ferns had grown back down in it, and it was all grown in, so it wasn't freshly empty hole. So I kind of was like, my the voice in my head that isn't me was like, go and go and sit down in there and meditate in the bottom of that hole. So,
Ah,
so I
which is
went,
something I would do totally. I mean, it sounds so magical and inviting, right?
yeah. So yeah, I went and sat in there and meditated and did a whole lot of breathing techniques. And
Oh,
yeah,
you did go in there.
yeah, yep. I did. Yeah, I posted some of the videos on my story. I don't, you might not have seen them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Um,
how lovely. Yes. Talk about connecting with nature. Yes.
and I love the beach, walking up and down the beach was really nice. But, as soon as I got into that forest, and I could see it, where I was house sitting and where I was sitting, and I was doing a bit of study while I was house sitting as well. And I kept on looking out this window and I could see the tree line. And so I knew that it would be beautiful in there, but I kept on going down and, walking along the beach and getting the sunset. And then I was like, okay, I need to go to, and I'm going to do the forest today, and went in there. And, as soon as I got up over the sand dunes and into the forest, like I just felt my whole nervous system, my whole body just like relaxed. Like, this is my home. This is where I
Absolutely.
am, this is my vibe. This is like deep, yeah, deep forest is my vibe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like you're immersed in it, right? In the sense of it just it surrounds you. I mean, how I feel anyways, there's a place I visit I was sharing with you earlier, and you kind of walk a mile to the creek, and on my way out, it's just surrounded by these huge sycamore trees and vines and roots, and it becomes a part of you. You become a part of it in that sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. The entranceway that I found on the second day, because I went in a different entrance, or found a different road and went in that way. And I came across these trees, and they had, maybe someone had cut them, but I couldn't see anywhere that they had been cut. Maybe they'd been damaged in a storm, but instead of growing straight up like all the ones around them were, they were like bent over and then like growing back up and all like tangled and intertwined, kind of like with each other. And it was just
Mm.
like this incredible, like knotted mess, but it was just so beautiful, but also very creepy, like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
suitably creepy horror movie vibes for me.
So our next film will be taking place in New Zealand.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, perfect for a witchy horror photo shoot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I just like something in me just like expanded when I saw that. And I was just like, "Vroom," like I felt this power in this area, like that whatever trauma those trees had experienced, to make them grow that way, because they were the same trees as the ones around
Mm.
them. But the ones
Mm.
around them were just as creepy because there was so many packed into a dense area, and they
Mm.
grew straight up. But if they were standing on their own in any amount of semi-strong wind, they would just break. But they were all holding each other up and swaying, and it was such a talkative forest because they were all like creaking and banging against each other in the wind. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are so chatty. And then they're like, creak, creak, creak back to me. Like, wow, this is, and I got chills, all over my whole body. And I was like, oh, I just went in there every single day. And, I still walked along the beach a little bit, but I was like, nope, I'm a forest girl.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, there's something about that. I mean, I had a similar experience. I mean, not I mean, where you're talking about sounds amazing. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
You talk about connecting with nature, and just in the sense of how vast that seems.
Mm-mm.
Um, I have yet to experience trees like that.
Wow. Yeah. I hadn't experienced them that like long and so elongated and skinny and just like swaying all together and yeah, banging against each other. And it just went on and on, it was such a long forested area right next to the beach. And, I walked for a long period of time on the first day on the main track, and there were so many side tracks. And I was like, wow, this is expansive. And at one point I was like, I'm going to experiment with my vocal tone and vocal range. And I was like
Oh yeah.
whistling to the birds and stuff. And I started, experiment. There was no one around, but if people were off in the distance, probably heard me. But anyway, I was like practicing like my chanting and stuff, feeling into my vocal range, and just how it echoed amongst the trees was and reverberated back to me was just like, yeah, really felt really expansive. But there was one track where I was like, oh, I just want to go off down that side. And so I went off, and it just kind of meandered really beautifully over these like subtle rolling hills. And it was all pine trees. So there's pine needles that have fallen onto the moss. So the ground is like a little bit spongy under your feet. And again, that the voice inside my head that's not me was like, take your shoes off and walk on the ground. So I did. And so I walked around that like beautiful area. It was like a couple of valleys that kind of like linked, but just subtle valleys, it wasn't a massive mountain range, it was a flatter area, but just like, little rises and falls. And yeah, then I really wanted to sit down somewhere, and I kept on looking at places, and we don't have anything deadly in New Zealand, but there are some spiders, like you don't want to get bitten by a funnel web spider.
Okay.
That would
Okay.
it would hurt, but it wouldn't just kill you necessarily. So I was like, oh, I might sit down there. And I was like, oh no, that looks like that's a little funnel web spider's home. I'm not going to sit down there. So I kept on walking, and there was another spot where I was like leaning up against a tree that would be perfect. And I was like, oh no, another funnel web spider's home. So I just kept walking. And, then I found just like a little open area, not leaning up against a tree. So I just sat down, and then like, boom, straight in front of me was just like all of these trees that had fallen over and had just been there for so long. They were so covered in moss that one of the branches that was lying there, like massive, massive tree trunks, looked like a dragon's head. And I was like, ooh, and it was like dead in front of me. And I was like, ooh, okay. I'm just gonna sit here with the dragons. So yeah, so I sat and meditated there for a bit, and that was really, really beautiful space. I wanted to go back there again, but it rained for the rest of the time I was there. But yeah, it was definitely a beautiful experience up there.
That is beautiful.
Mm,
And I'm curious, you had mentioned a couple times like talking to or hearing the voice that wasn't you. Do you mean like because you're aware of the fact there's spiders and things around you that you wouldn't want to like sit on, or like for me, like when I'm like, ooh, I really want to go check out this area, but like, we have things like rattlesnakes
yeah.
and diamondbacks and scorpions that can really not be a good situation.
Mm-mm-mm.
So I'm like, yeah, Sophie would want to check this out, but is it the smart thing to do right now?
Yeah.
Or is it a sense of like approaching things? I'm just curious. Because I found myself in a situation the other night when I was up in Sedona, and there's a place I visit, and I'm walking through the forest and the trees, and it got dark. It got dark pretty fast.
Mm,
Um, I've been to the area before. It's a place that I visit frequently, so I wasn't too scared because I kind of knew where I was at, and what was around me. But there were some areas where I was, immersed into the trees, like had to walk through tunnels of trees and vines that have kind of grown that way.
yeah.
And I don't know, there was something that it had pulled out of me in the sense of where I was scared. I
Mm,
wasn't scared in that way. I was scared, like, but yet excited at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think
And
as
there
well.
was,
Yeah, 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 go on. Yeah.
yeah, there's something freeing about that. Like maybe it's something that wouldn't be pulled out of me unless I had that experience, right? Unless I found myself in that experience where I was like, ooh, I'm kind of out here by myself, and I'm hearing all these nature sounds. I'm hearing like, is that somebody walking out there? Like I was talking about these frogs and all these noises that I'm hearing, out here with no one around me. And in essence, like, would I experience that feeling where it was so freeing in the sense of like I feel alive and really encouraged to push through and break through, right? And very healing in that regard, because
Yeah.
I was on the other side scared. Like, this is a little bit
Yeah, because of the
spooky.
darkness. The
It's
darkness
dark.
conceals so much, right?
I mean, I had my headlamp on and I could see just enough in front of me, and I was kind of moving it like around to the side, just to make sure there was nothing around me. But really, I could only see, maybe 20 feet in front of me. clearly. So, it's like I had to trust where I was walking in a sense. Like,
Mm.
really, okay, like I've been here before, but each time it's different because I might, take a different pathway in or take a different pathway out, or ooh, I want to go check out this tree, or
Yeah.
I can hear these frogs on the water. So I have all these things around me, right? But I
Mm.
know I'm on the path. I know I'm on the path and I just have to trust
Yeah.
in my steps forward, right? Like
Your
I may not
intuition.
know what's,
Mm.
yeah, I may not know what's around the bend, and maybe it might be something that scares the shit out of me. I might
Yeah.
scream.
Well, yeah,
I
what
don't
about
know
that
what's
time
gonna.
you saw the mountain lion though? That was pretty intense. But that was it during the day at least. Imagine.
Yeah, that was during the day.
Yeah. Oh, far out.
They visited me in a sense. I mean, close enough but far enough away to be what I would consider a safe distance, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's one of those things where I have to realize and accept that I'm in their home, right? Like I'm in their space.
Mm, mm, mm. Oh, totally.
they
Yeah.
they live there, and so it's a mutual respect for nature, right? When I'm out there, I thank the trees, for being there.
Mm.
Thank you for providing me support and providing me oxygen to breathe
Yeah.
and shade. you
Yeah.
know thank you for providing me this today,
Yeah.
and along with their healing energy, right? And so I, in a sense, know that I'm a part of nature. It's a part of me. It's a part of us, right?
Yeah.
And having the opportunity to connect with that is connecting to myself, whether it's daylight, it's sunlight, it's moonlight, or it's fucking bloody dark.
Yeah.
It's scary as shit.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
These are all elements of our nature, right? And so yeah, I've been there before. I've been in the dark spaces, maybe uncomfortable sometimes, maybe scary other times, but I think I think those instances, and in this case being the darkness for me,
Mm.
is enough to push me to that level or bring me to that space within myself to
Mm.
recognize it is dark, it is scary. I can just see enough in front of me. I maybe don't know what's around that bend, but I don't know. Could be something beautiful. And so it was scary in that sense.
Yeah.
But as I turned the bend, there was just a little breakaway from like an overhang of the tree where I saw a beautiful crescent moon shining in between the two trees where they kind of overlap their branches.
Mm.
And I could see the twinkling of fireflies. It was like I was walking down a path of glitter, just enough
Woohoo.
to see it shimmer on the side of me. And I was like, that is beautiful,
That's
you
magic.
know?
Yeah, pretty.
But but that is something that likely I would only experience in the dark,
Yeah. Yeah,
not
yeah.
in the light,
When there's
in
other,
the dark.
yeah, other things around. Exactly. That reminds me when I was in Ireland, I went to Glendalough and I went there. I was in Ireland in November, so it was winter. And I was there, in the later afternoon, and so I was there for dusk, and it was such a misty atmosphere. Like the
Gosh.
mist was just hanging right on the lock and then coming onto over the path. And I was walking along and I was like, oh my God, I've walked so far in and I've got to get out and it's going to be dark. And I've just got the light from my mobile phone. And there's nothing deadly around there, apart from like slipping off the path and falling into the lock if you take a wrong step. But
Yeah. Outside of that, there's no
there's no
no.
mountain lions or anything. But But I saw, and I didn't see fairies, but they looked like fairies. And it took me ages to figure out what they were. So I could see these little white things, like kind of like skipping around, and they were going up the hills and coming across the path ahead of me. And I was like, what is that? And they were like, kind of like, up and down, subtly, and like they were flying almost. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing fairies. Like, I shit you not, if I didn't see something close up to tell me what it was, I would have been like, I saw fairies at Glendalough. Like, hands down, I saw fairies when I was in Ireland. There's no way that it was anything else. But anyway, this bunny rabbit came into view, and then as he ran off, his little white bunny tail was like ding, 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 ding up the hill. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
it's the bunny rabbit tails that I can see running up and down the
oh,
hills. But it was so magical at one point because I was like, there's fairies here.
oh, there was absolutely fairies there.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You
totally.
saw what you saw for sure.
Totally. And then I saw a bunny with a white tail.
The bunny was just visiting with the fairies for
Yeah.
evening tea. They work together, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, that was one of my favorite places I visited in Ireland. Oh, there was so many amazing places there anyway, but that, yeah, I'd love to go back there. Yeah, being in nature, eh? Being immersed in nature. It's just, yeah, I love it.
I mean, for me, it's just a, I don't know, that drive to connect,
Yeah.
right? And mostly, like, if I'm feeling like really overwhelmed or just stressed the fuck out in the sense of like, going through a transitional period of, what are my next steps? Like
Yeah.
if I need to focus or in a sense gather my thoughts, I'm blessed with the drive.
Yeah.
So, you've got all that stuff coming through and then, you ground it out with earth and having that opportunity to connect. I mean, we are truly gifted here on
Mm.
earth to have that opportunity.
Yeah,
It,
definitely.
it's a gift. It's a
Yeah,
gift.
definitely. And you have like your own backyard that you have like, our own little nature in that we like cultivate the nature that we want around us as well, don't we? Like,
I love that way of looking at it. Yeah, cultivating the nature we want around us.
yeah, yeah,
Planting the seeds, life is a garden, right? You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds,
yeah. Yeah.
What are you watering with your life,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to think if I had the choice, I'd like to surround myself with something beautiful,
Mm,
right?
definitely.
Something appealing to the eyes, and
Yeah.
it's not only what I'm looking at, but the senses, right? I mean,
Oh, the
it's
smells and everything. Yeah, I love that.
yeah, it's hearing, right now I've got several varieties of flowers growing in our backyard and a lot of sunflowers.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they're live bird feeders essentially. We have, gosh, probably 10 plus different bird species that visit us.
Amazing.
We've got different birds that visit, and of course the bees and hummingbirds and butterflies, and it's beautiful to experience nature like that, and it's not only the visual, it's the sound too. Wake up in the morning and you can hear them out there, chatting with each other and singing the most beautiful song. And hey, I'm happy to be here and I'm
Yeah.
welcoming the sunrise. And, it's beautiful to envelop myself in that part of nature as well, because it's all around me. And it's lovely. It
Mm,
really is.
mm, beautiful.
And two, yeah, I mean, mind blowing as to how I could grow something in a desert.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? And it is, well, you got sunflowers there as well, right? They take a lot of water, the sunflowers. I mean, they love the sun
It's
too and the heat, but they grow so massive.
it's crazy. Yeah, we have probably, gosh, maybe 100 plus different plants right now in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
And some that were planted by me. I have a memorial garden bed that I established.
Yeah.
And so there's a variety of flowers that I grow in there. I've got some roses and zinnias and some other pollinator friendly, like I grow basil.
Nice.
Um, rosemary. I've got an herb garden back there, but I grow plants specifically to welcome pollinators into my garden.
Yeah.
Um,
Perfect.
yeah, so I'm really, really into saving the bees and
Yeah.
as a result of that, they pollinate my other plants, so it makes for a very fruitful garden.
Mm.
It's I call it my giving love and my give love, get love. So
Yeah,
it's a
no.
project. It's a project I've been working on in the community, helping to establish pollinator gardens and working with the elderly and the differently abled to teach them to grow
Mm,
and from that giving back to nature
mm.
and our pollinators. We need the bees. We need
Yeah.
the bees to survive and so to eat.
Yeah, we do.
um,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's been great. It's been great to have that outlet, and I mean, it's been really good for me because I've been gardening actively coming on 6 years,
Mm.
um, and going through all the seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Yeah.
So I garden year round, and I try to be very water wise as to how I'm using water here in the desert,
Yeah.
how I can reuse water, run off of water or collecting rainwater to
Mm.
help feed my plants. And so it's been um it's been a great experience. And so I really enjoy sharing that with others and in mostly specifically people that I work with, the differently abled or marginalized communities where, I myself have had my journey of, self-love and self-trust and having that opportunity to put my hands in the dirt and till the soil and
Uh,
work with the soil to plant seeds so they can grow has really been it's an exercise that I try to share with as to building that self-confidence,
mm.
when planting and establishing a garden space, however big or small it is.
And experimenting,
So
eh? Like experimenting,
yeah.
like moving things to different areas and seeing what grows better with what, and reading different almanacs to find out like what plants like growing next to each other and things. It's like, yeah,
Oh my gosh, yes, right. Companion planting,
yeah,
right? And how
totally.
can how can we support each other, Maybe I can offer you shade, right? And you can offer me nitrogen. How can we will help each other grow, and that there's a lot of things that comes from that in gardening. So I
Mhm.
it's truly been a blessing and yeah, I'm stoked. And and for me with that journey, I I was so hung up on the fact for years, Nicola,
Mm,
that I couldn't grow anything. You
mm,
know, I I
mm.
I don't have I didn't have enough faith in myself at the time, I guess, to like I already had preemptively thought like Sophia, you can't grow anything, like you're gonna kill it, right?
Oh,
Even before it starts, like you've
yeah.
already, I'm just like, why am I fucking thinking like this, like
It's
even
like a
before
death
I
sentence.
start, yeah, I'm like, I'm not even giving it a chance to
Yeah.
grow. And so I say, like, what are we watering in our life? If it's my thoughts, what thoughts am I feeding? And this is a big part of my gardening. I do a lot of my midnight gardening at night because it's cooler. It's
Mm.
like 115 degrees right now. So I do a lot of my gardening in the evening time. And so,
Mm.
connecting with that and visualizing as I'm planting seeds, planting seeds of love and hope and self-worth and then I'm watering that
Mm.
and so it can grow into something beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, but for me it was something that I had to really step out in faith, in the sense I had to step out, like even though maybe I didn't fully believe in myself, like there was still some doubt, like this is not going to grow or this isn't going to work out for me, like already thinking that before I
Yeah.
even gave myself a chance, until it was like, it was an interesting experience, and I'll share it with you since we're here. Yeah, so I had my father-in-law, my mother-in-law visiting. So we've been here in our place for coming on 7 years. So um they came here like a few months after we moved in, and they're like, "Hey, Sophie, we want to plant something with you."
Mm.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Gosh, that sounds so lovely. I would really love to grow something, but I don't know if I can, like I fucking kill cactus, I
Yeah.
don't mean to kill cactus, but I kill cactus." Like, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
Like, how do you fucking kill cactus? Yeah, I'm drowning it. I'm overwatering that shit, but so it was finding that balance, so what am I watering? How am I watering it? Right. And so I was like, I would really love to grow something, but I was like, you know what? You got to give this a chance, So if you really want something, like you just got to give it a try, and then if it doesn't work, then try again, right? And then you learn, okay, well, maybe I need to water this in the evenings, or instead of every day, like every other day, And so you start working with the plants, and they'll tell you like, hey, dude, I need some water over here, man,
Yeah, you look out for the
like
signs, I'll tell you.
and so it really helped me to get out of my head,
Yeah,
and
that's
it does, just get out of my head and connect, and
great.
and get out of the shit rut in my head of all the doubts and all the fears and all the unnecessary anxieties
Mm,
about something and what it could be, instead of just working with it, right? And as we were talking last time, learning to work with ourselves,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and so it's been a beautiful experience. But yeah, my father-in-law, my late father-in-law, his name's Angelito, Little Angel, and
Mm,
he certainly was that for me, and to many.
mm,
But he graced our home, and him and mom are master gardeners, and they
mm,
grow beautiful plants. And it wasn't like, hey, Sophie, we're going to teach you how to do this, or you got to plant this way, or you got to do that. They're like, hey, we just want to plant something with you, and so it was kind of like we all worked together. One person's like, hey, I'm digging through this hard soil because I know how to work with it. I'm Arizona native. We have like clay like soil, so I have a technique that I approach the hard soil with that makes it a
mm.
little bit easier to dig up. And
Yeah,
so I'm like I'm good with that, because where they're from, the soil is really like lush and really soft, and here it's like literally you're digging in a cement dirt.
yeah,
And
like
so
a clay pit.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a clay pit. And
yeah,
so
we've got
I'm
a lot
like,
of
well,
clay here. Mm.
yeah, so I'm like, I can work with that. And
Mm.
it's like, so we all used, maybe techniques or way we work with something to plant something that is a beautiful pomegranate tree that's still growing in my backyard.
Yes.
But but yeah, it was really it was something that I had to push myself into, in the sense of really stepping out on a limb, maybe stepping out in an area that I wasn't exactly comfortable with, an area that I still had doubt. I wasn't sure if I'd be good at it or not.
Mm.
I did not know the whole way of doing it. I had no experience with it at all, other than the fact that I kill cactus, So
You no longer
so I
kill cactus.
I no longer kill cactus. I have beautiful cactus. I mean, I've got beautiful cactus growing and blooming here. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
we're far from that. But
Mm, mm, mm.
um
At the time it
it
was. Yeah, that feeling.
yeah. And so the uncertainty, right? And
Yeah.
how scary that can be. I don't know what's around the bend, right? It's
Yeah.
dark. It's scary. I don't know what it could be, but it could be something beautiful, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Or we could be
we're
like with these new projects and things, right? It's like,
yeah.
yeah, totally like fully doubting ourselves that, the seed that we plant for the project that we want to work towards going forward is actually going to grow. It's like,
What are we watering? If I
yeah,
don't water
yeah.
the seed, it might not grow. It might pop up a little. I might get a couple of drops of water here and there or some
Mm.
runoff, but if
Yeah.
I don't water it or even give it a chance,
Yeah, water it too much. Let me
yeah,
drown.
right, right. And so, it's for me, it's been meeting myself where I'm at, you
Yeah.
know. And what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that is like being vulnerable enough, being okay enough where, you know what, Sophie, you don't have any experience with this. Don't know how it's gonna, for me, like I learned that me transplanting plants did not work for me. Like I was getting so frustrated with it that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get some seeds and maybe I need to plant seeds.
Mm.
Maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that yet. And so, my father-in-law, Angelito, he he's passed. So I set up a memorial garden out there, and he had certainly a sense of humor for sure. And so he was battling cancer at the time, and we had went back home to visit with him. And um, before I left, I was going through some of my stuff because I was like, I'm really going to give this a chance. I really want to garden. Like I've always dreamed of gardening.
Mm.
Again, no experience, don't know what to do, and I was going through some of my tools and stuff because I started to assemble these gardening beds.
Yeah.
And I found this little bag that he had wrote on, and it was one seed. There was one seed in there.
Wow.
And I was like, and it's loofah gourd.
Oh, I never heard of that.
So yeah, so it's a type of like a melon,
Oh,
it actually grows loofah, like to
oh,
scrub your body with.
yeah. We
Yeah,
get them.
yeah.
Yeah, we got them in at the florist, and I would, yeah, yeah, on the stick to use in the flower
Yeah.
arrangements. So good.
Oh, how
Ah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay, that's
so
it.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you get it. So like my
Hmm.
wife, her family's Filipino, and so they actually will cook them while they're green and put them in stews.
Ah,
Um, and so I never knew that it was an actual fruit that you can
yeah,
eat,
yeah,
because I've always just used them like for scrubs, like like scrubbing the body and stuff. I was like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, my mind is blown,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, here I am thinking of planting seeds. I'm like, really thought that I really, really, Dad? I'm like, one seed. I'm like, one seed. I'm like, I really have to go out on faith now, like
Yeah.
there's one seed. It's not like I can throw a whole bag of 100 seeds and maybe if five of them grow, then I'm okay with that. But it's
Yeah.
one seed.
He has full faith in you that you will be
So
able to grow
I'm
that
like,
one seed.
I am like, dude, the pressure, man. The pressure is on. How do I do this? Is it the right soil condition? Am I using the right soil condition? What kind of space do I need? How do I contain? All these thoughts come rushing through. I'm like, Sophie, plant your seed, and so there was a scripture that came to mind, if I have faith is, small as a mustard seed, I can tell the mountain move, right? And to grow and to plant. I'm like, you know what,
Mhm.
so just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
And so I planted it, I watered it, and everything was like so scorching that summer. Like most of my stuff had died. Well, I had set up cameras on my property because we were going to be gone, and I was on the other side of the country. They live in Virginia, and so it was quite a ways from home. And so I kept getting these alerts, right? Because we've got the neighborhood cats that visit my backyard and they like to lay up there. And so I kept getting this alert for movement. But as
Mm.
I'm getting this alert for movement, I am and I'm, hundreds of, I don't know, a couple thousand miles away from home, and I'm getting these alerts and I can see the plant growing. And
Wow.
it's like growing, like right before my very eyes, and I'm like, you don't understand, like this is so freaking mind-blowing, I'm like like everything else in the space had got scorched and died, but
Wow.
that one seed, Nicola, and
Yeah.
it grew and it vined out so beautiful. And yeah, so if
Amazing.
if you have questions, if you have doubts, anybody listening, including myself, as I look at myself in the mirror in front of me, is trust, right? I encourage you to step out on that limb and plant a seed. One
Mm.
seed. If all you have is one seed, shit, it may grow into something beautiful. You just don't know.
Yeah,
And
wow.
so, it's been quite the journey, and it's been such a blessing to have the experience, man. If I'm having a tough day, man, I go out there and I'm gonna pull out some weeds.
Yeah,
And
oh,
I'm gonna get I'm gonna
I am exactly the same. Yeah, like it's so
I'm all
therapeutic.
about, dude. Right. I need to do some weeding tonight. And I'm not talking about surface shit, right? I'm gonna get down in there. I'm
Yeah,
fucking getting to the
totally.
root of shit. It looks like I've gone through World War V by the time I got out of it, but I got those fucking weeds down to the root.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
you know?
Yeah, we had like a massive tangled mess of these horrible vines out the back of our house. Well, it was on the neighbor's side for years and it just blocked out so much sun. And like 5 years ago or whatever, I was this breakup with this guy, and I was just every time I came home for the weekend, I was like out there ripping it up. I asked the neighbor if I could clear it out because she was selling the house soon. And I wanted to do it before the new people came in, and then you'd have to get to know them before you ask. So, and she was like, "Yeah, go for it." So think I had like 4 months. So every time I came home, I was like out there. And mum and dad like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just raging this breakup." And I kid you not, these vines went like all the way up into the tree top. So they were jasmine, and then there was a couple of other different vines in there. And I was like swinging like Jane of the fucking jungle off some of these to pull them down out of the tree, all these vines out. And cleared it all back, and it's still clear to this day. And there's so much sunlight now that comes in, well, extra light that comes in through that area. And yeah, but it was so therapeutic. Like, and yeah, exactly what you said. You come out like looking like you've just fought in a war because you like, totally. Yeah. I love
Aching
gardening.
from bending over, freaking dirt all over,
Oh, my
thorns. I mean,
sciatica is like playing up and I'm fucking, my hands are sore, but you're like, oh, that was great.
oh yeah, I needed that, right? It's like
Yeah.
I worked that shit out.
Twigs in my hair. I look like a swamp witch coming out of there.
Hey man, that's a new term. I haven't heard that one yet. Swamp
Yeah.
witch.
Swamp witch.
What are you
Just like
today?
covered
I'm
in
a
mud
fucking
and
swamp witch.
yeah. That's what I look like when I've been gardening too much. Yeah.
Oh,
You've got
dude, I
dirt on your
love it.
face and you've got twigs in your hair and yeah.
It's the best. It's like, man, Sophie, my wife will come out. It'll be like 3, 4 in the morning. She's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and I feel good because I know I look fucking hell. Yeah, I'm like, yep, I'm in my element, and I feel great.
Yeah. It's so
But
like, especially getting your hands like physically in the earth, you can just like dispense or so much energy from your body in that way. You can ground so much out
mm,
of you when you do dig in the earth, especially with your hands. Even if you've got
oh
gloves on,
yeah.
but without gloves is better. And in the summer, I like to garden in bare feet as well. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
me too.
time on the earth with your feet touching the earth for sure.
Oh, me too, for sure. Like actually, like before if I'm clearing out a planter, so right now I've been clearing out planters because a lot of stuff is drying out, right? So basically I just let nature do its thing. Like I know it's scorching hot, we're in the middle of summer,
Yeah.
and so I just let things naturally dry out. So like the sunflowers,
Mhm.
the birds will consume those, and then I let those dry out. I've got um some other like zinnias and other flowers drying out, some of my basil, so I can harvest the seeds, right? So as
Yeah.
I'm going through and like clearing space in other ways, like I'm grounding my feet onto it, right? And connecting with that planter and like It's like you've served me well, and I thank
Mm.
you for providing, beautiful plants, herbs, and I'm clearing space now, moving forward and connecting with it in that way.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's so much to offer from it.
I
And I,
love it.
I know for me, it's been like, it's just been it's sanity. And it's me time and I love it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. That's definitely
It's,
what
it's
it
so
is.
rewarding, right? I mean, and not only like when it's blooming and fruiting, but like even in the dry summer months, it's rewarding because then I can work it out, get
Yeah.
down and dirty, pull out those weeds, clean it up, right?
Yeah. Totally. Re-landscape it. Figure out something new to go there,
And
and
that's exciting. Yes,
yes,
absolutely that.
that is exciting. And so maybe when we have to re-landscape ourselves when fucking shit happens, we get excited about it.
When I'm re-landscaping myself, I've definitely gone through World War V. My
Yeah.
hair's all fucking looking crazy. I ain't got no makeup on. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I just lived through that. So what?
Exactly. I'm just taking some time to re-landscape myself, guys. Oh my God, we just coined a new term.
Oh shit. Re-landscaping. Yeah. And for me, it's like, okay, no, I'm not talking about waxing my underarms, my face. I'm
No, this
talking
is like
about,
internal shit, eh? Digging out the
well,
roots.
and it's like it's going with the seasons, right? It's going with the flow in the sense of that it's a part of nature. It's a part of myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through the seasons. Like 4 months ago, I was just at the height of spring where everything was in bloom and beautiful and colorful. And now the summer is a part of the season. And I welcome it in the sense that it's a part of that growth because as things grow and they die out or in a sense dry out, and I have the opportunity to thank them and acknowledge that growth for that season, and
Mm,
then moving forward, it's like I'm cleaning up this space, right? Clearing space for, wow, the vision of
mm,
what I'm going to plant in this bed for new growth. What seeds am I watering now, right? Moving forward into a new season of
yeah.
my life,
And plant in
right?
its place. Yeah. Totally. And things that are gonna like re-fertilize the soil. Like you talked about like planting things in different areas because if you plant something in one place for too long, like it depletes the soil and then, it's had
Oh
it in this.
yeah.
So you want to like shift things around and try a new dynamic and plant something in a different place so that it re-nourishes the soil. And we kind of like need to do that with ourselves almost as well, because we get caught in such a routine. But like you say, the seasons help us change our routine as well, don't they? Because yeah, they kind of like force in the most beautiful way. They like kind of like
Absolutely.
force you to do different things. So, without that, it would, you'd get over one particular season if it was just like that all the time.
It's a force of nature, in the sense of
Yeah.
nature's going to do its thing, regardless if I like it or not, nature's still going to do her thing,
Yeah, yeah,
I might
exactly.
not like this season. It's freaking hot, I'm like,
It's freaking
man,
cold
shoot.
here right now.
Right? It's hot, I'm hot, you're cold. I'm like,
Yeah.
but we just got to roll with it, and learn to grow with it,
Mm,
right?
totally. Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally that. And that's an interesting way of looking at it, when I think about like my plants, like for instance, if I'm growing like
Mm,
tomatoes in a bed and how I'll move them somewhere next season because it might need, more calcium, where
mm,
I'm going to plant something there that maybe needs more nitrogen. And so they're both feeding the soil, right? But if I were to leave them in that same bed, eventually it's going to deplete that soil, or it may not have the nourishment it needs to grow
yeah.
into a healthy plant, And so it's kind of like, well, I look at it as life, like all of those experiences, right? Um, good, bad, indifferent, all make up for, a good planting season in the sense that we learn from those lessons, maybe sometimes a couple times. Um, but it's all part of growth, right? That
Yes.
typically the next season is going to be even bigger and better. it
Oh,
all it all feeds the soil that I'm growing in,
yeah.
right? All of those experiences. And so right now my plants are drying out, but that's okay because I'm in a clear new space and it's like, a clean slate, a
Mm,
blank canvas. Like
mm.
that's exciting.
That so is exciting.
Like,
You know,
ooh, I have all this space. What am I gonna plant here? I don't even know what to do with myself,
yeah, I've got a lot of new space that I can plant stuff in my life actually. So it's, I'm feeling into like a lot of changes and a lot of like restructuring, with like my, finishing, my full-time regular job and things and being able to structure and like plant. I can like how am I going to plant my week, each week?
Yeah.
What am I gonna
Yeah.
what am I gonna grow each week and really be mindful of like yeah, like planting efficiently and using that time and space efficiently, landscaping it effectively. You
Yeah.
know.
Landscaping my life. That's
Yeah,
right. We
totally.
are back on track, but we're back on our track. And I think that's a huge difference, like knowing that, I drive the car,
Yeah.
right?
Mm,
Like what am I watering? And
totally.
I think too, like as we move on, for me turning a new page, right? Like in the sense, like I think since the last time we got together and chatted, both you and I had a birthday,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know,
yeah. Yeah, we did.
An, another year, right? Another solar return. We're coming on back, getting back
Yes.
on track, and
Another fresh year. It feels good actually. Yeah.
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 And that's kind of how I look at it, it's like a clean slate, blank canvas. And I don't know if it's the same for you, but when I go back and I reflect on a year, whether it's like this year I had to work and I had some things going on and I didn't was working late and I was like, I got a gig I'm gonna go to, I had some things going. But leading up to it, a couple nights before, I took a drive and I spent some time outside and I reflect upon the year, and what it what it has looked like. Like for me, it might have been like, areas I need to work on in the sense that I want to kind of fine tune,
Mm,
certain areas of focus, whether
mm,
it's my study or a project I'm working on, and what it's going to look like in that planter, as to what time am I going to set aside for watering that. Maybe realistically I can commit, 2 nights a week.
mm,
um what am I looking at in the future, and knowing, like, I guess what has served me in the year prior, and what I'm not moving forward with. you
yeah.
know maybe I've learned beets don't do well in that bed,
Mm.
so I'm not going to try that there. Like, instead I'm going to plant some sunflowers,
Mm,
but really, really just looking forward into a new year and a new garden bed in this sake. And, that is exciting. And really, I guess just truly being vulnerable with myself in the sense of meeting myself where I'm at,
mm, mm.
meeting myself in this season of life, where I'm at, like truly, like being downright honest with myself, areas where maybe I wasn't, like, not to be all like critical, but areas where maybe I felt are things I need to work on,
Yeah.
or um things I need to let go of so I can move forward,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
oh, Totally. There's a lot of that, reflection that's just come up for me too as well. It is really, yeah, the landscape of the year before, and how things unfolded and everything, and kind of that reflection of for me as well, like the internal reflection of like how things unfolded and why. And I'm kind of starting to like really understand more and more for myself anyway, that like all the energetic work that I've been doing and all the internal healing. And when you do all these deep dives and these healings and you understand all these new concepts, like you can manifest shit really, really fast. But sometimes the shit that you manifest really, really fast is like, maybe not in that way, universe. Like I kind of didn't really want all of that other fucked up shit to happen so this thing would happen. Like, oh my gosh. You
Ooh, yeah.
like
Yes.
the more like aware we are of our thoughts and how when you get to these stages where you are doing all this energetic work and um yeah, really reframing the mind and training the mind and starting to work, more with your higher self or your guides, or calling in, talking to your ancestors or calling in your guides or whoever is goddess work. And you know whenever we're starting to work in those realms to really like bring in stuff for ourselves, it's like, okay, when I reflect back on maybe the shit that I wasn't that proud of and the things that did go really wrong, but then, I kind of think, well, actually, I have this thing now that I did want, and that kind of did come out of that. And you're like, yeah, you do have to be really specific and really clear when you ask for things now. Like, I'm just like, fuck, like I did manifest all this shit, and stuff that, it's hard to look at and kind of assess that, like, yeah, okay, I made things happen.
Mm,
So,
mm, mm.
and there's been some stuff that's dropped in recently within like not even 24 hours, like 12 hours. I asked something and then all of this stuff happened. And then I kind of got what I wanted, but I didn't really want all the other shit to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
fuck, fuck, okay, fuck, stop it, Nicola. Like, let's, you know, put bit clarity, that clarity. Around what we're asking for, right? And to be more specific about, getting specific with things.
Yeah.
Yeah, going forward. I think that's a big thing for me. Definitely.
And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's like, okay, so in that instance, what do we do when we realize that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
um, okay, I'm not gonna beat myself up and go
Yeah.
inside my head because I know where that leads me, typically
Yeah.
in a spiral, right? Where then I get all
Yeah.
depressed and then it's like this slump, and then it's like, okay, am I moving forward and why?
Yeah.
But realizing that, well, did you ask for this, but maybe not in this way? Like, oh shit, like my thoughts really do bring things into fruition. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, I better think about how I'm looking at things, and
Fuck yeah.
what am I feeding my mind with, right? Because
Yeah.
what is it, what am I watering? you know and
Yeah.
what is that going to grow? I don't want that to grow, but
Yeah. Exactly.
in this, planting flowers or planting weeds, and like, yeah, the weeds may serve their purpose, but shit, I do I really want to grow that,
Mm-mm.
and two, like, I don't know, for me it's been like, um realizing that I want to be more in focus. Like, I want to, we were talking about the other day, conviction, right? You had mentioned it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
um but being true to myself in the sense of how, recognizing how I'm saying things. So if I say, I'm praying for health and wealth in a positive way, in a
Mm.
healthy way, right?
Mm-mm.
What I'm working on, right? And my projects in a healthy way, that they may come into fruition, not like, something is going to happen, and well, I asked for it, but it came in a roundabout way, and that's not how I foresaw things. But how am I looking at things, right?
Yeah.
What am I foreseeing, right? Like what am I giving my energy to?
Yeah.
And and for me, it was like, what am I feeding my mind with when I think about like conflicts or obstacles that have come up over the years, or certain situations, or for me, it was patterns that were cyclic, came in cycles. We had talked about that before,
Mm.
where it's like, why is this presenting itself for me? What am I walking myself through, or what am I growing through in this sense?
Yeah.
And what is the root cause of this, right? Getting to the root of things and pulling up those weeds as to, oh, I see now. It's
Yeah.
because I was looking at things this way, or maybe it was how I was watering this, or maybe it was my approach, or if I would have got out of my head, or maybe said things differently to
Mm.
myself,
Mm.
right? And not verbalize that and manifest it into being,
Yeah.
then that situation might have gone different. So it's shifting that, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Exactly. It is. And I've realized with, with the whole conviction thing and when that came in like a couple of weeks ago for me, and I really sat with that and kind of felt into, what that meant for me and my communication and how I feel internally about myself and about all these different situations that have happened over the years and recently, and just reflecting on my life in general and patterns that come up and stuff. And I've been feeling into like this internal conflict that we have when we have this internal system that is, and essentially it's your head and your heart are battling, but this whether
Mhm.
or not it is, or if there's a conflict with what you're wanting to create or do or be as a person, then you're trying to manifest from two different places. And so I figure that potentially that's why things come in a roundabout and quite destructive way, because you're sending out mixed mixed messages to the universe and to yourself and to your subconscious, and and to your subconscious controls how you perceive and view the world. So if you're telling your unconscious mixed messages, and your unconscious doesn't process negative. So everything that you tell it will remove the negative, and then it will just give you what you're essentially asking for. And so if you've got these two conflicting things that you're asking for, essentially, it's gonna try and give you both, and it kind of implodes on itself, and you kind of do get both. Which, yeah, like you kind of get the good with the bad, and then it's like this bittersweet like result that you're like, well, I wanted this thing, but not to the detriment of like all of these other things that are maybe like hurt relationships or like hurt people or, like lost things or losing money or, whatever it might be. And so feeling into that conviction with like how you speak about what you want and like being able to stand up for ourselves. And I was having all of these when I was walking on that beach that I was talking about earlier, and I was like, this was all coming in when I was at that house sit and visiting that magical forest and stuff. This was when this was all coming up for me, and I was walking along that beach and all of these thoughts were dropping in and everything. And I was, driftwood all over the beach, like I was talking about earlier. But I was just walking along, and this thought dropped into my head about conviction and backbone, and I just automatically just like stood up, and felt my back just kind of like strengthen, and my shoulders went
Mhm.
back. But then I like as I was walking and striding, and then I looked down in that moment, and there was this massive vertebrae, like I've never, and it was dead in front of me, like other driftwood just scattered around aimlessly, but and it was
Oh my
pointing like
gosh.
towards me, and I was like, okay, hello, giant vertebrae. I see what you're telling me right now in this moment when I just had all of these feelings and my body internally changed and I stood up straighter and I felt this like the feeling and the energy of the word conviction, when you can speak with that conviction and you can feel that way about your own person and what you stand for and your values in your own beliefs about yourself and the world around you and the people that love you and that you love, and whether those people that you love fade away or not, it's like I still, want to stand in my own truth of what I've done and what I've created for myself and my life. And so of course I picked up the giant vertebrae and took it home with me.
Wow. I've
So
got to see that.
yeah, I need to, it's still in the car because I just got home yesterday and I've just been gradually unpacking. So yeah, another cool thing that I found on that beach, a couple of other cool things I came across as well. And we were talking about the gardening before. And when I was sitting at one point and meditating on the beach, there was a cool piece of driftwood and it was just kind of like standing up perfectly, kind of like, like directly upright, with these like feet sprawling out underneath it. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I picked it up and then it looked like a goat's head, like it had a face and then it had like two round,
Ooh.
like the horns that went back, but one of the horn bits was a bit broken. So if you held it just right, that kind of like looked like a goat's head. But you were talking about the tilling, and I was just sitting there kind of like contemplating, and then I was using it to kind of like grub in the sand almost, and I was like, oh, this would be great in the garden for tilling the garden and the
Oh,
soil
how
and so,
beautiful.
so
Yes.
yeah, so I took that home with me and it's cool because it looks like a goat's face. So
Shit,
yeah,
yeah. So the elements working with you, huh?
yeah, totally, totally. It was so magical that
And helping you to plant new things in
yeah,
new space.
yes, yeah, digging in the soil with that. And then there was some mushrooms growing out of the sand where I found
Oh
that piece
my
of driftwood
God.
too. And I'd never seen that happen before. It's like, wow, like these things growing where they just, you wouldn't think that they should. And it was quite magical because I'd been microdosing on that house sit and it wasn't going very well. Like the dosage wasn't quite right for me. And I was just like walking along the beach and this was like the last day. I was like, okay, if this dose isn't quite right, then I'm just gonna stop for now. And I was like walking along and I'm like, oh, I just feel so foggy in my brain. Like I don't want to feel like this. I'm never microdosing again, never microdosing again. And then I was looking along the beach for somewhere to sit and just kind of meditate. And there's all these, like I was saying, there's all these like little huts and things that people have made out of driftwood, and then there's big chunky bits of driftwood and that you could sit on, that are like half buried in the sand. And so I spied this piece of driftwood from ages away that looked really big that I could sit on, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and sit in that one. And so I kept walking, trying to clear my mind, and I'm like, I don't like this foggy feeling. Like I like to feel focused, and especially being a Gemini and being quite like airy in my head anyway. Like it was just like not a nice feeling. And so I'm like, never doing mushroom, never microdosing again, never walking, like 5 minutes later, walking. And then I get to this bit of driftwood where I want to sit. I'm like, nah, never, nah. And then I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's mushrooms growing out of the sand. Right where I decided 5 minutes ago that I was going to sit right over there. And someone had swirled these swirls around these mushrooms that were growing out of the sand almost to protect them. So someone didn't walk on them. But I was like
Yeah,
almost like
yeah.
like arrows. It may as well have just been arrows pointing to the mushrooms for me.
That is wild. I would have been tripping, man.
Oh, I was almost like I was. And then I just got down on my knees and was like, I blew some of the sand away. And I was like, yeah, they're definitely mushrooms. And I was like, blew on them a bit harder. And I was like, oh, yeah, they're wobbling a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely mushrooms. You can't make that shit up, man. Like, you just can't make that shit up. Oh, so yeah, it was a really magical place up there. Definitely going to go back and visit. It's
Yeah,
about,
it's pretty it's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Sounds beautiful. And I love how you recognize it's like things growing in places you wouldn't expect them to grow.
exactly. Exactly.
Right. If you keep an open eyes on the journey, as scary as it can be, then I I think you're more open to experience those things along the way,
Yeah, totally. Totally, totally.
you know. Um, and that's the beauty of it. But you live, you learn, and
Mm.
it's all part of the journey, right?
Yeah.
And having that self conviction and knowing, like, I think through it all, like reflecting on the year or the years for me, again, a closing of a cycle,
Mm.
um, and having the support too with this coming full moon in Capricorn. I
Mm.
think, well, I know the timing of things is divine timing, right? Everything in its time and its space, right? In this moment in time,
Mm.
and bringing that to a closure in the sense of, okay, like closing of a season. Now we can move forward, right, on our walks and in our life and on my track,
Yeah.
on this path that I'm creating for myself moving forward.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's been the difference. That's the difference, and that in itself is very, very, very rewarding in the sense, and knowing that, as we get to the root of things and uncover maybe as to the reasons why, for me, accepting things in my life, or shitty one-sided relationships, or
Mm.
things that I just kind of rubbed me wrong, or didn't feel well to myself.
Mm.
Had I had that self-worth, and knowing that, and valuing myself, right? I think that was the hardest part for me, is like, I had to accept that,
Mm.
situations that I found myself in, or those cycles that repeated myself,
Yeah.
but getting to the root of it and knowing I don't want to carry that with me moving forward,
Mm.
right? I do value myself. I do value my land, my space to grow things.
Mm.
What am I going to plant in there?
Yeah.
What am I going to water moving forward?
Yeah.
Um, because it's a choice that we make, and it's, for me, it's been like aligning. I want to align my thoughts and my feelings, what I'm thinking about, what am I passionate about with my action.
Mm.
You had talked about like the conflict, right? So if you're talking about like two different things, are you referring to like the head and the heart? Like,
Yeah. Or just even two different things like I really want to be fit and healthy, but then like I love eating chocolate and ice cream. Like that's conflicting.
mm,
Like I want to go
mm,
overseas and travel, but I keep spending all my money on clothes and shoes and like buying shit on
mm,
Amazon, like just conflicting thoughts and actions, and that's maybe like a little bit of self-sabotage when you like have this goal, yet you're like sometimes your actions or other thoughts that are disabling you to get to that point. So yeah, that's like finding what that conflict is. And it's, yeah, like usually, like a self-worth thing, or you could go back to childhood or teenager or something like that. Maybe there's an event
yeah,
that around
yeah,
each particular conflict, not just conflict in general, but whatever that
yeah.
particular internal conflict is. So if you can, and what was it that came in? Oh, I can't remember now, but I was like, and that's what made me really want to focus in on that, because I could feel it in me as soon as I was part of my NLP study. And as soon as I kind of like read that, quite a few just different things started dropping in. And then I had instantly had a thought where I wanted to do something. And then there was another thought. And I was like, oh my God, I just had it. That was an internal conflict. And so I like went into it a bit more.
Ooh,
But I can't remember
ooh,
what it is now to tell you. But like that's why the NLP study is taking me so long, because every time like I do a new portion, I'm just like brings up stuff within you, and then you like realize different ways about why you think certain ways, and then you can like uncover different parts of it, and unlock things. And sometimes that's a little bit of work to work through. Yeah, I wish I could remember what it is right now, but yeah, yeah. I mean,
hmm, hmm.
yeah, and yeah, once you can distill it down to that, and then do some work with whatever part of you that is, that that needs that healing, if it's inner child work, or if you do like some deep shadow work, if you're holding anger, resentment, shame, guilt, any of those lower vibrational frequencies around why you're not doing something, like, if you're maybe overweight and you do want to lose weight, but you keep eating stuff, like there's probably going to be a lot of shame, somewhere in there that you want to get to the anchor and the root
Mm.
of, and different around certain things. So yeah, it's like diving into those emotions, and yeah, um it's a lot of work. It doesn't have to be like, like I think sometimes you don't have to like actually look at what the certain event was that happened. It could just be a feeling that you remember from being a certain age, but you don't have to know like the whole sequence of events that played out to make you feel that way. But and
Mm.
that's why like working with someone quite intuitive that can help guide can be really helpful to assist within that, to feel into what that would be, and to do some clearing around that. And even if it doesn't uncover and uproot everything, it may lift a layer or two, and then that allows access, at a future time, 3 weeks, 6, 8 months, or something else might come up. You can look at it again, the onion layer. Yeah. Um, yeah. So that's
Mm.
what I've been looking at, really.
No, that's a lot of great
Yeah.
insight,
Yeah.
and I like that too. I mean, I know I've done work with you, I think a session or two, and sometimes we're not always seeing what's going on under those layers, right?
Mm.
I might have an idea, or recently I had a situation where it brought up old wounds, and this whole cyclic thing and this cycle where,
Yeah.
for me it was so traumatic that I do remember that in detail, a situation. I'm bringing up a lot of these sister wounds and things that
Mm.
you experience that I didn't see that coming. I
Mm.
didn't see that around the straight
Yeah.
road, right? Around the bend. But here,
Exactly.
but here we are, 8 layers in, we're getting there. And but and work and doing that work with my ancestors and realizing that it is an ancestral thing, and we're talking, past lives, and a lot of this stuff coming to surface where I did a session with you and it brought a lot of things to clarity that maybe I had in my mind, but I just didn't know how to get there, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and having that support, there's something interesting you mentioned earlier about walking in the forest, and I could visualize it. And I definitely have to visit that place, which means I got to stop spending money on Amazon so I can do some traveling around the world. But
Yes.
and I know that, so it's like,
Yeah.
okay, how much of this is retail therapy, or do I really need this, or what is it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And what is that in me? What areas of my life am I not working on or dealing with? Is that an easy out or a quick fix? Or do I really want to get deep down and dirty and dig
Mm.
in and get to the root of this shit so it doesn't repeat itself and I can move forward to fulfill those dreams and align those thoughts and those visions with that action so I
Yes.
can take the wheel and drive on my path, right?
On the right track, on the new track. Totally. And like it's
Yeah.
so good to work with like so many different modalities. Like, for example, if you had like an internal reference, memory of the exact events that happened that we can work with, then we do more NLP. We do more like framing, anchoring new memories, reframing, and disassociation techniques where you kind of like fade in and out, with the movie screen technique. But then if someone didn't have like an exact like memory, but it was more of a feeling that they just needed to dissipate, then you would go in maybe more with shadow work, and you'd take your goddesses in with you, and you'd just like smash a whole lot of shit up. Like I went in into a meditation like a couple of months ago with some plant medicine and just had music on and I was really surprised where it guided me. Like I went like so many layers deep, and this would be cool to do with you. Um, and then when you got down to each layer, it was like the elevator doors opened and you just got to go out and smash shit up. And this just all came like download, whatever you want to call it, but my imagination just went nuts. And I had Kali Ma and Sekhmet with me, and we were just smashing shit up. And I had like Thor's hammer, and then I was on another level, another level deep, and the doors opened, and I had like a fucking flamethrower, and I was just like burning shit down, and then the elevator doors went down again, and we went to another layer deeper, and I came out, and it was like Tekken or like fucking Mortal Kombat game, and I was like being a Mortal Kombat character, like smashing shit up. It's like
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
And I
Yeah.
came out of that meditation like, whoa, I need to take people through that because it was like an internal rage ritual where I didn't need to scream. I
Mm.
didn't need to like throw my arms around and like, actually maybe do some damage by like straining some muscles or
Yeah.
screaming too loud that my voice box is like, a bit damaged. But, that internal feeling of like smashing shit up and each layer that I went down and the doors opened and it was like, let's smash some shit. And it was just like, you could have people in there if you wanted, but there was just shit. It was just like big walls and like buildings and like, you know.
Yeah.
Apocalypse style movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds really like a healthy way of working through that shit,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and two, like you're putting yourself in that situation, right? You're jumping in the video game
yeah,
and you're taking control, right? You're like, this shit's not serving me and I'm gonna smash it down, right?
yeah,
It's gonna get out of my life, and
yeah,
it's using that goddess energy and working with them to, destroy, destruction, right? Transformation, right?
yeah, totally.
Removal. And so you can grow and move forward from those obstacles.
Oh yeah, man.
That
Yeah.
that's really interesting. So this is something that you walked yourself through, like through
Yeah.
a
Yeah. It just came into my mind. I
wow.
wasn't even speaking anything. I was had music playing and I was like standing up and just kind of like so I was moving my arms a little bit, like doing the like Tekken moves and stuff in my room.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal
I'm about
Kombat.
ready to throw it. I'm about ready to throw a combo move on here.
Yeah, exactly. It was amazing. And then, yeah, and then even, it depends on how vivid your imagination is, I guess, and stuff, right? But then like
Oh yeah.
Kalima and Sekhmet were like fucking like, Sekhmet was like up and on, buildings like a cat, and then she was like jumping and smashing more shit. And I was like, fuck yeah, smash that wall down.
Shit, yeah. Do they have like is this a two-player game? I want to join that
Yeah,
game.
we could go in there together.
Get in there and smash that shit up, man. Donkey Kong style right here.
Yes, exactly. We'll do that for your next journey, eh? I've kind of spoiled the fun now for you, but
Oh man. Hey, a new episode, man. Each level's different, right? I
yeah.
mean, yeah, it's the beauty of the journey, and I'm thankful for every step of the way. I
Mm-mm.
can say that truly. I mean, man, if it's pushed me to get back, to myself, right?
Mm,
Connect with myself, connect with that inner nature and rise up above all of that, like that's fucking awesome. Like,
mm, mm, mm.
as much as I could say my human heart or body has hurt from many of those instances, I'm thankful for every step of the way. And truly, I feel very blessed to have the experience and the opportunity to grow and to learn and expand, right? And usually growth, it may not be easy and it definitely hurts, and but through that fire comes transformation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And
Purification, transformation, new growth when the fire rages and you know,
getting that
sometimes,
backbone, that
yeah,
conviction, right? Finding
yeah,
our voice
mm, totally.
and connecting with that voice. I mean, for me, it's been the conviction of I can hear myself. Like, it's like tonight you sent me the link, right, for us to connect, and I'm like, for some reason, this device, I need to figure it out. I probably know I should just use my other device, but my stubborn self is like, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. So essentially I'm like, damn it, Sophia, I know it can work. There's got to be a way, but I'm like, stop fighting it. I'm trying to put, a circle into a square peg here. Why go against the flow?
Exactly.
And it's like, dude. So
Uh,
eventually I'm like, oh, I send myself the link, right? And then I get this ding on my phone, like I'm messaging myself. It's like, oh, the other Sophia had to invite this Sophia in. Let's connect with her.
Oh my gosh, that's such a funny way to think about that. I send myself stuff all the time on different messenger apps to transfer files from one
You know what
device
I'm
to another.
saying?
It
What?
totally is, yeah.
Hello, it's me again.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
Did you
I
get
love
the
that.
message this time?
Yeah.
Ding.
Uh,
Connecting with ourselves, right? I mean, for me, that's what it's about. And that in itself is the wealth, right? That's far more than any type of material wealth can bring in this world is that self connection, right? That self worth, that knowing that I move forward in myself and my divinity and that growth, like
mm,
that in itself is, I mean, that is a gift, right? And coming for timing in this year is like I feel different, like I feel a relief, and like a big part of it has been that support, and like support from beautiful friends like you, like to walk me through those dark spaces when it gets scary,
mm, mm,
right?
mm.
I mean, that is for us, like if we're going into ceremony, right? So I'm native, we sit together,
Yeah.
and when we sit together, it's in a sense that we're in a circle, not that we're a circle of people sitting together, but we are sitting together because there is no one behind me,
Mm,
right?
yeah. I love
We all yeah, we
it.
all have something to bring to that circle, you
Mm,
know I may not see you eye to eye or be sitting directly in front of you. You might be to my right or my left, but we all have something to bring to it. And if we're open to showing up, right? For me, it's like my wife, she says, Sophie, you can go in, you're going into work every day, but the most important thing is that you show up.
mm, yeah.
You're showing up, right? I'm 100%. I'm showing up for myself today.
Yes.
Moving forward, I'm going to show up for myself,
Mm, mm, mm.
right? I'm going to step forward in that personal conviction, right? My personal health and self worth, and knowing that I'm growing this backbone for me, right? I'm going to start showing up for me so I can work with me and
Yeah.
be with me, vulnerably and generally where I'm at. I got
Yeah.
to meet myself where I'm at. And sometimes that's scary,
Mm,
sometimes it's, stepping out into new things or new projects. Some of the things I'm working on right now involves me speaking up. Like I've
yeah.
done public speaking, I've done social work over the years, I've done a lot of work in the community where it hasn't been an obstacle or a problem. But when it comes to myself, for some reason, it's like, what is the hang up here?
Mm,
You
mm,
know, when you're doing it for yourself or you got to present something for yourself, like what is the hang up? Why am I so hesitant about showcasing what I'm trying to do here in the sense of, okay, the root cause of it is, is it low self-worth? Is it not me believing in myself or what I'm doing, or that it's scary, or maybe I just don't know how this is going to work out, or what is it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got
Totally.
to show up. I've got
Yeah.
to show up for myself. It
Yeah.
might be scary. I might be stretching out of bed 1 p.m. in my pajamas, hair's a mess, but I'm showing up genuinely, authentically where I'm at with myself.
Mm.
I got to be true to myself, right? I mean, that that's what I heard. I mean, if I can't be true to myself, how can I be true to anyone else for that matters?
Mm.
Meeting myself where I'm at so I can walk down those dark alleys and, might be frightening as shit, but walking through it, you know, to open up to a world of splendor. And for me, it was a crescent moon and frogs. But
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah. It could be something else
you
for
just
someone.
don't know. You just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
So, how are we going to grow what we grow,
Yeah.
right? What are we going to sow so we can grow?
Mm-mm.
And I mean, moving forward and knowing, hey, we have the opportunity each day I turn that page, right? You
Mm-mm.
know, sleeping on it, letting it go. I wake up, each day is an opportunity. And, I just, I'm so delighted that we have those opportunities every day, whether it's a drive, a nature walk, walking out to our backyards, walking to our garden space, taking a shower, having running water,
Mm.
waking up to the sunlight on my face,
Right.
standing under a moon. Those are all blessings that we have each day, an opportunity. And I
Mm.
mean, it's just, and we have so much to learn and share with each other. And that has been really been ringing through for me is, when I go back to the circle and knowing that we all have something to share if we're open to it. You
Yeah.
know, um,
Yeah, that's
you
beautiful.
had yeah, and building that sense of community and supporting one another, like we've talked about, like
Lifting each other up.
sharing.
It's like
Sh-
lifting, lifting each other up.
yeah, sharing and not comparing. But I mean, in the sense, if we're lifting each other up, we're also lifting ourselves up, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if we're all connected to the one, like we're lifting ourselves up in that sense.
Mm.
And I go back to that visual, Nicola, and it's gonna stick with me. I'm walking through the forest, and you're talking about this driftwood and how all these pieces are kind of mangled together and maybe have been washed up to the side,
Yeah.
but they're all supporting themselves like in these teepee-like structures, right? I mean,
Yeah.
as fragile as they might be, or maybe washed up or broken up or torn down or have been beaten by the storm, they still have found a way to come together
Yeah. Yeah.
and lift each other up
Mm-mm.
and lift each other up to build a structure
Mm.
to provide shade,
Yeah.
to provide a shelter,
Mm.
to hold each other up just enough to let the sunlight come in so that those nice warm rays can get on one.
Mm.
I mean, looking at that and to provide a place for Nicola roaming through the forest during those dark days, right? And
Exactly.
finding shelter to lay.
Mm. And
That's
for
what it's
everyone
about.
to enjoy, for everyone to enjoy, and that's what it's
I
about.
love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just don't know. I mean, by offering that into the world, like you just don't know how it's going to serve, right? Like our
Yeah.
service and what we're doing. Like like for you the other night, I don't know, like some things just came out and came through, and it's like, oh, I really needed that. Like I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders,
Mm-mm.
right? Like and holding space for somebody in those times, like you just don't know how it's going to affect somebody, right? A smile, a wave, a kind gesture,
Mm.
and
Mm-mm.
what you're putting out there definitely will come back in the sense of,
Mm.
man, I was having a tough day, and I'm surprised too, like each day. And I was out the other day. I think I told you we had a funeral to attend, right? And so we had lost a dear family member over the holiday.
Mm.
And so, it's like I had seen some family members I don't see all the time, and I'm like, man, we got to stop meeting like this. What, we don't see each other for years, and now there's hundreds of us at a funeral. Like, hey, like you live right down the street. Like, what's up? We should connect, but
Yeah.
like, hey, we might be all over the world, right? But we can meet, right? I mean, we're meeting, from the
Yeah.
AZ to the NZ, and taking the time to connect, right? And so I had visited and with some family and my cousin, and I'm gonna tell you, this little girl, man, she just turned 10,
Mm.
and she I learned so much from her, like, and I might see her a couple times a year, if that. And she just turned 10, and she's been battling a child leukemia.
Oh no.
She was Yeah, yeah, she was diagnosed at 4 years old, and she just turned 10, and she is the sweetest girl. I mean, she's got a smile to light up the room.
Yeah.
And she had a birthday, and so we had went to the birthday, and I was like, man, I just kind of sat off to the side, and I'm watching her, and she's playing. They had a pool party because it's hot here, and so all her friends are getting together, and like, so my cousin brings out this birthday cake for her, and she's like, oh my gosh, and light the candles and everything, and she's like, hold on, she's gonna get all her friends. She's like, I gotta get you, girlfriend. I gotta get you. She's got them all by their hands, and she's like, come on. I want you to be with me. I want you to be with me. And it's like all these joyous experiences like she's
Oh.
having, and I'm just like, that is so sweet. She's like,
Oh.
I'm experiencing this really beautiful moment, but I want you to experience it with me too, like it's not just
Sharing.
about me, and I was just like, man, yeah, and I'm learning this from a little girl, we all have something to bring to the circle, and regardless of how young or old, and it's just having that view, right? Taking a step back, what am I keeping in focus, right? Like, what am I allowing my eyes and my heart to be open to see, right?
Oh,
And
totally.
the yeah. And I
Yeah.
was just like, that is so beautiful. I mean, like, to witness that, like, to visually witness it, like the beauty of sharing and caring for others around you. And it's like, I want you to celebrate with me too, you
Mm.
know? I I just thought that was so cool, man.
It's
And
so sweet, and
yeah,
yeah, that you're able to even like witness that and like observe and then process and reflect on it, is like some people wouldn't see that, within that moment. They would think, oh, come on, just you can blow the candles out on your own. They'll have their own birthday. Whereas she wanted to get everyone around and, take the time to make sure everyone was included, which I think is really beautiful to make sure everyone was included. No one got left out. Everyone was part of it that was there. And that's really special. And she's maybe a space holder, in that time for all of those people that will know her. Um,
I
yeah.
was so touched, man. And so we
Mm,
got to see her again the other day, and like I was like so delighted because my aunt had set some seats for us because there was a lot of people there and so limited space.
mm.
And and then so I come to the table and I'm sitting next to her, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just made my day because she's
Yes.
so delightful to be around. Like, and I'm like,
Mm,
dude, like, you talk about, like, I know children are maybe more resilient, but I'm like, man, this girl has gone through so much. Like,
yeah.
like she's battling cancer like every day. Like, she's
Mm,
gone through so much, like physically in her body. And like, I have not heard her complain. She's just always happy. Like, she's like, oh, hey, Sophie, you want some dessert? You want some treats? Like, how can I help you? Like,
mm,
how can I be of service to you? You're like, despite everything that's going on,
yeah.
right? And I'm just like, that is so fucking awesome, man.
So many lessons in that. There's so many lessons in that. Wow.
Lessons from a 10-year-old. I'm like, Shit,
Exactly.
man. Here, my life is tough, right? I'm going through some shit. I'm gonna complain about, oh, whoa, it's what the
Exactly.
fuck am I complaining about? You know?
Yeah, I know, right? It's the perspective, that things get put in when you're around someone that's really going through so much in that way, that's quite, yeah, another
Yeah, so
thing to be a witness to. Definitely. Well, we should wrap up in about 10 minutes. Anything else you wanted to bring forward for our Witchy Talk listeners?
I have something that came to mind. So I just celebrated a birthday and I opened up something I received in the mail that was surprising, unexpected. And so, those unexpected gifts, as little or as big as they are,
Mm.
mean so much. And so, um, there is a gentleman that has been a huge part of my journey, Ronnie James Dio of Dio and Black Sabbath.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
he, huge fan, and he's been so awesome. And so I actually received a vinyl. It is an album from 1985,
Yes.
Sacred Heart. And I know a lot of people know him for Holy Diver. I mean, he's got so many hits, but the song Sacred Heart, the album cover and the song, most of his music has reached me through his lyrics. And then I
Mm.
come to find over the years of listening to him, and his lyrics, his music, his art, we share a birthday. And so
Yeah, that's
I'm
so
like,
cool.
dude, we're totally connected. Um, he goes on to say, rest in power, Ronnie James. Whenever you dream, you're holding the key. It opens the door to let you be free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to read it
And
again?
and you
Read it again. That's powerful.
Sacred Heart off of the album, sung by Dio. Whenever you dream, you're holding the key. It opens the door to let you be free.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. That's powerful, eh? That's beautiful.
He says you find the sacred heart somewhere
Yeah.
bleeding in the night. Yeah. Run
Yeah.
for the light and you will
Mm.
find the sacred heart. And I
Mm.
feel that's where we go to, right? I mean, connecting our thoughts and our mind with our heart so they can work together
Yeah.
and live together and be together in the sense of having it be in alignment and knowing you're holding the key. It opens the door to let you be free, and we do have control. We are driving the car if you open that door, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I love what you just said about, about the heart and what we were talking about earlier. And, another word came through when you were talking earlier about that, and we were talking about conviction. And the other word that is really powerful for me at the moment is coherence. And for when
Mm.
your head and your heart are in coherence, and you're speaking and living authentically and with conviction, then you're in alignment. And that's when you, yeah, like he says there, your dreams, you can access that sacred heart, I guess, yeah, experience, and you can bring that into reality. So that's, yeah, really beautiful, powerful, nice.
It certainly is powerful, and it's actually one of my favorite albums and most loved songs by him. And so to receive that on my birthday unexpectedly, and I was like, yes, Ronnie James, I know you hear me, and thank you. Um,
Yes.
but that's the beauty of life, right? If we keep an open mind and we allow our eyes to see, there is beauty all around us, and all the synchronicities, and each day is a gift that is given to us. And
Mm,
I encourage you to get out there, dig in, and experience it, because life is grand, and it
yeah.
certainly is a beautiful thing. And so, shifting our thoughts and our minds, moving forward, man, from the AZ to the NZ and worldwide, guys, let's continue to lift each other up, man. I
Yeah.
will be the branch to that teepee. Will you join me? Let's lift each other up. Let's raise the energy through the roof to the skies, man. We need it more than ever. And
Yeah.
just doing my part, right? We all have something to bring to the circle. And so I'm being real with myself where I'm at, man. My hair's looking fucking crazy. I'm rocking a mohawk. I'm doing the punk rock, but I'm showing up, man. I'm showing up. And
That's it, right? You
so
got to show up. Yeah, we got to show up
show
for
up,
ourselves
man.
every day.
Yes, we got to show up so we can grow up and keep watering those seeds, man. Even if it's just one, if you
Mm,
have faith, man, it will grow. But you got to do your part, man. And that's where I'm at, finding that sacred heart inside, right? Moving forward. And yes, you can do it if you put your mind to it.
yeah. I love that. I love that. And I was just visualizing like a massive piece of driftwood from New Zealand all the way to Arizona across the world. And you had a big piece of driftwood on that side,
Oh, girl, you are
creating this
speaking my
massive
language.
teepee, this energetic teepee.
Oh, yes. Let's do it.
Yes. I love that. I
I
love that.
love that. Yes,
Yeah.
sister. Much love. And thank you all for tuning in with us this episode of Witchy Talk.
Yeah.
Come on back. We're moving forward, man. Let's keep the wheel going. Episode 3. And what do you know?
Yeah. We're
Looking
wrapping
forward
up.
and watching us grow. And so looking forward in the time and space to connect on this plane. And so much love.
Yeah. So, so much love. Amazing. Amazing. It's been so good to connect with you, Sophia. We went like deep and wide and into all these different aspects. And I love it when stories come up that are unexpected and things. So it's always amazing to chat with you and explore these witchy and esoteric kind of like just life chats. So yeah, keep tuning in for Witchy Talk, and we'll be back again soon with episode 4. Peace out.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Peace.
Ciao for now. Peace for now. All right. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, girl.
I just don't know if the live is completely, yeah, finished. I don't know how to